like we said before, on this channel, we're not a big something goes wrong, just fire everyone, fire everyone. So we do not take this lightly. But over the past couple months, it's been very clear that head coach Mike Zimmer is not the man to lead the Vikings into the future. And just giving away all these close games. Now, ownership may look at these close games and be like, oh, look how close we are. Like, we just need to give Zimmer more time. But that's the problem. That's the problem. Game management and leadership, if the Vikings have better in both departments at that head coaching position, the Vikings win a handful of these games, and they're probably 10-5, probably 11-4, as opposed to 7-8 and having their playoff dreams on life support. So since the Vikings are, they still have a chance. They have their 10% to make the playoffs, but for all intents and purposes, it's over. It's quite possibly finito, even though we're keep Skull alive guy, and I'm sure next week I'll just be back on that, the best 7-8 team in NFL history. But as of right now, change has got to come. Now, I do not expect the Wilfs to fire Mike Zimmer in season, even with the new rule that allows teams to fire head coaches and with 2 weeks left to go in the regular season and start interviewing head coaching candidates. I don't think the Vikings go down that route. I do think that they have a handful of names in mind that are specifically targeted if and when Mike Zimmer is fired. But yeah, I think that they will allow Zimmer to coach out the rest of the season, including a Lambeau next Sunday. So we'll see. But yeah, it would be an extremely hard sell to me if I was the owner. It'd be like, hey, fans, guess what? We're going to run it back with Zim. We're going to run it back with Kubiak. We're going to just do all these things. And even though Kirk Cousins hasn't necessarily been the problem throughout most of the season, even though he's been asked the last 2 weeks, I think it's time to move on from him. His trade value, frankly, has never been higher. I think that you could get some decent trade compensation, at least a first-round pick, and probably some change out of the deal, as he only has 1 year left on his contract. And then, do you turn to Kellen Mond? Do you draft the quarterback of the future if the right guy is there when you select? So, it's been real. It's been fun. It hasn't been real fun, Zim. Like, yes, he did bring about change in the organization, going from those 3 Leslie Frazier years that were not great, and despite that 2012 season. And he had the worst defense in the NFL. Zimmer turned into one of the best, and then it became one of the worst, and now it's sort of in the middle. It's certainly hit or miss. But, yeah, I think that complete teardown and rebuild, reconstruction, I think is necessary. I think it's time for the Vikings where you came into the season with extremely high hopes. On paper, this was a Super Bowl roster, but missed games, just missed opportunities. The Bengals and Cardinals games, that might have been just a sign of what was to come. The stupid Cowboys game when he couldn't beat Cooper Rush. The Ravens game he gave away. You lost to the friggin' Lions, even though the Lions beating everyone nowadays. But, yeah, it's just so unbelievably frustrating how just if 1 or 2 decisions are made differently, or if 1 or 2 things go the Vikings' way, this is a completely different story. I mean, they're probably 10-5, 11-4, sailing into the playoffs. Zimmer's probably lining himself up for an extension, but we've seen too often that Zimmer as a head coach, Zimmer managing the game, Zimmer managing his players. Because we've said it a bunch, like head coach of the NFL, it should be called manager, because you manage the game, you manage players. And a number of players, Justin Jefferson included, said that they had flat energy coming into the game on Sunday. Like, how does that happen? By the way, that is on the head coach. He is the one who sets the tone. He is the one who amps up players or calms them down, gets them ready to go on game day. But day after Christmas, I don't care. That's no excuse. How do you not show up in the first half? How do you not take advantage of 3 interceptions in a game where your season is on the line? If the Vikings win, beating a very good Rams team, this is a completely different conversation, but it's not. And that is on Mike Zimmer. And it goes back to, hey, 2017 Magic Carpet Ride. Awesome story with Case Keenum. You go into the NFC title game with a home Super Bowl on the line, and you roll over and die. You score the first touchdown and then give up 38 unanswered. And you have no answers in that game. You're like, you got punched in the mouth, and you're just like, here, take my back. Just, that comes down to the head coach. Like teams take on the persona of their head coach, and if they just roll over and die whenever they're faced with adversity, that is on leadership. That is. And you look around the league, you look at the great head coaches in this league. Guess what? Their teams don't die. Their teams show up. Their teams are professional. But this, Yeah, it's time. We haven't gotten into like game management and stuff, but yeah, it's time for a new voice. It's time for new leadership. Like we said, a bunch offensive-minded head coach. So that way, hey, the problem with having a defensive-minded head coach, if you get yourself a quarterback and the offensive coordinator is going to get a job as a head coach eventually, so he'll leave every 3 to 4 years. You have a new guy, new scheme, new system coming on in. You can't have that. Continuity on offense, that marriage between a head coach and a quarterback is key. So offensive-minded head coach to work with Kellen Mond or rookie quarterback TBD and go from there. That is the foundation of the team. And then also throw all the assets in the trenches. It sucks. It does suck because I do like Mike Zimmer as a person. I think that he's a good defensive coach when he does have talent and they're healthy, but he's not a head coach. He's not. He's been a defense coordinator with the challenge flag. He always has been, and now it's time to end this experiment. But your thoughts on our thoughts. It's time. Let us know in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But until next time, Skol, production value.